I'm here to talk to you about the problems with thyroid testing. And part of the reason why I'm doing this video today is because I've done this video recently and it's stored in the unit section of my Facebook group, which is Hormone Havoc Weight Loss Support. And we've got loads of units, by the way, or they're now called guides. We've got loads of guides in that group about different topics, about thyroid function, about sex hormones, gut bacteria, stress hormones, and how all of those things impact your metabolism and your weight management as well. So it was brought to my attention yesterday that one of them has just disappeared, the video all about problems with thyroid testing. And there's a whole series of videos on the thyroid talking about, what I do with my clients to help them to address thyroid issues and how the thyroid is so important for your weight management, the symptoms that it can cause. So check that out. It's in the Hormone Havoc Facebook group in the guides section. But today I'm going through the problems with thyroid testing, and there are many. So the thing with thyroid tests is the biggest problem is that when you go to your doctors to have your thyroid tested, the test that they use is very basic, and what they do is they look at a couple of hormones, well, sometimes only one hormone. Often they only look at something called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and that is the hormone that comes from, or it's stimulated by the pituitary gland in the brain, and that then travels to the thyroid to tell it how hard to work. So the more TSH you have, the harder your thyroid is being told to work. The less TSH you have, the weaker that signal is to your thyroid to tell it how hard to work. So that's a good indication of how strong the communication is between your brain and your thyroid. But what it doesn't tell you about is the output of hormones from your thyroid, which is arguably the most important thing. That's what we want to know all about. So when you go to your doctor, often you only get this TSH tested, and that doesn't give us the full picture. Generally, if the TSH is out of balance, that's, when we're seeing more advanced thyroid imbalances, and the more subclinical ones are often missed because the TSH is still within a normal range at that point. But when we have these subclinical imbalances, that's still enough to impact your metabolism and how your body burns and stores fat and your energy levels. It also impacts your digestion. It impacts the balance of your sex hormones as well. It impacts your cholesterol and your blood sugar management. It impacts so many things. And this is why it's so frustrating that the testing is so basic when you go to see your GP. Now, sometimes if you're lucky, you might have the T4 tested as well. And this is the main thyroid hormone. So sometimes your doctor will test that. That's really helpful when they do, but it's still not the full picture. And you won't get anything more tested than that at your GP. You might get a little bit more done if you go to see an endocrinologist, if you get referred to a consultant, but often it's still not expanding very much on those two hormones. And we really want to know about more than that. We want to know about the T3, or the free T3 ideally. And where that comes from is your thyroid produces the T4, which is your main thyroid hormone, and then that gets converted into T3, which is actually the most active thyroid hormone. So the free T3, that's converted, the T4 gets converted into T3 by the liver, within the gut. So the liver and the gut need to be working really well as well, so that you have a nice conversion of T3. So that's all going to be working well as well. And this is another limitation of the thyroid tests. The bins are just being collected, which is why you might be able to hear some background noise. But yeah, this is another limitation of thyroid tests, is that they often just look at the thyroid. And your thyroid is really, if that's imbalanced, it's a symptom. When your thyroid becomes imbalanced, that's a side effect of other issues in your body. It's a side effect of inflammation, of deficiencies, imbalanced gut bacteria, poor liver detoxification, immune dysregulation. All of these things are what impact your thyroid functioning. So to really understand what's going on, we need to look at all of those other things. And, it's helpful to know what the thyroid's doing as well as all of that. But just looking at the thyroid alone, it really doesn't give us many tools to be able to address those issues. And unfortunately, when you go to your doctor, the only tool in their toolkit is thyroxine or thyroid medication. And whilst that replaces the hormone, the T4 hormone that's missing, what it doesn't do is replace the T3 hormone that is often lacking. And so often what we see in our clients is that the TSH is normal, their T4 is normal, but the T3 is low. And often what happens is the doctor prescribes the T4 hormone in the form of levothyroxine, but that doesn't actually address the low T3. And so a lot of people find that they feel a little bit better with their thyroid medication, but it doesn't go far enough to help them feel normal, energized, and to help them regulate their weight properly. So that's one big issue with the testing, is that it doesn't look at all of those different hormones and all of those different systems that impact thyroid function. The other issue is that your thyroid test that you have done at the doctor's and anywhere actually, even privately as well, they're looking at very wide ranges. And what that means is that there's a huge variation between what's considered to be normal. So just trying to think off the top of my head, with the T4, with the free T4, it's considered normal. It does vary from lab to lab, but it could be somewhere between 10 all the way up to 22 on the reference range. And what the research shows is that actually optimal is more like 15, 16 and higher. And a lot of people fall into that lower range, where they're lower than 15 but higher than 10, or I've seen it as low as 8, possibly lower than that actually at some laboratories. And that's a huge range of people who are falling into this lower range and are being told that their thyroid results are normal, but actually that is low enough for your body to not be producing energy efficiently, to not be burning calories efficiently, to not be producing as much heat, to slow down your digestive system, to cause an elevation in blood sugars, and all of those things that I mentioned earlier. So it's a big issue. So we've got this double whammy of, one, you're not having a comprehensive test in the first place, and secondly, they are telling a lot of people that they're normal when actually they're falling into the lower end of that reference range for the thyroid. So with those two things together, there's loads and loads of people that are being told that their thyroid results are normal when actually they are suboptimal, and that is having a big impact on their overall well-being and their ability to manage their weight properly. And also just to function in normal everyday life. When your thyroid is low, then you feel very tired, and it can also impact your digestion. It slows down how quickly everything moves through, and that can make you prone to constipation. That has a knock-on effect on so many things, because if you're constipated, then what can happen is you can end up reabsorbing hormones that are supposed to be being eliminated, reabsorbing toxins that are supposed to be being eliminated. which has a knock-on effect on your hormone balance and your overall health and inflammation. But also, it's not very nice feeling constipated. It impacts your comfort, it impacts your waistline, it impacts your sex life, it impacts your exercise. You don't want to go out for a run when you feel heavy and full if you feel like you need to go to the toilet. So it impacts so many things, and so many people are being missed by this really subpar testing. So that's why there are so many problems with thyroid testing. And what we do with our clients is we test the thyroid, the things that usually get done, but we also test the T3. We also test the antibodies, which are the things that your immune system can produce, which actually can attack and suppress your thyroid function. So we test for those because that is one of the most common causes for underactive thyroid, is immune suppression. And that is often linked in with inflammation and linked in with your gut health. So we look at the gut bacteria, the yeasts, digestion, absorption of nutrients. We also look at your nutrient levels and whether you have deficiencies or a greater need for nutrients. We look at your liver function and all of these things that impact the way that the thyroid functions. So we do all of that, and then we're looking at symptom analysis as well to determine what areas need more support, and then we give you a step-by-step action plan so that you can address these imbalances and start taking steps to properly support your thyroid. And in some cases, it's possible to reverse thyroid issues and not need medication. In the majority of cases, it's absolutely possible to prevent thyroid problems becoming worse and limiting further damage. You might still need medication, but we can prevent the problem becoming worse. So that's what we do. And tonight we are having a web class, 7 p.m. And this is somewhere where we're going to go through lots of things, but we're going to talk about things like willpower and hormone imbalance and blood sugars, and go into real detail about that. Look at some case studies as well to help you to understand why this isn't a problem of you not trying hard enough or not cutting your calories enough. So this webcast is for you if you're struggling with stubborn weight and you feel like you're doing the right things but you're not getting anywhere, or maybe you know what you need to do but you're struggling to implement it consistently. So if you fall into one of those two categories, you're going to find this really helpful. And we also are going to be going for a case study that looks quite closely at thyroid function. I can show you some of these hormones and imbalances that affect the thyroid as well. So the link is in the bio for those of you watching on Instagram, and I'm going to drop the link in the comments for those of you watching on the Facebook group. So make sure you register. It's 7 p.m. tonight, Tuesday the 16th. And if you can make it live, then do, because we give away goodies. And if you can't make it live, then still register, because I'll send out a recording tomorrow. You won't get the goodies, but you'll still be able to watch the recording. So I'll hopefully look forward to seeing you there. Hopefully you found this video interesting and helpful. If you have, make sure you give it a like. All right, everyone, thanks for joining me today, and I will see you tonight, hopefully. And if not, I'll be back tomorrow with another topic to talk about. Bye, everyone.